Greetings and welcome. I will be your host today for this Leap Lifestyle podcast. My name is Christopher White, and we have an amazing and exciting show that I'm looking forward to recording with you guys today. On today's show, we have an amazing guest from our community by the name of Samuel Rouser. He's a community, he's a community, if you will, I would say a community standout, if you will, because of all the work that he's been able to do and all the people he's been able to help with a program by the name of Onpoint for College. And at this time, I'd like to introduce Mr. Samuel Rouser.
How you doing this afternoon, Chris? My name is Samuel Rouser. I am the executive director of Onpoint for College.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us today, Mr. Rouser. We appreciate you checking in. Would you please start by just sharing a little bit about like where you're from and how you came to kind of be where you are right now in this moment, if you will, lightly?
Oh, absolutely. It may take a little long because I got a few years under my belt, but I am a native Syracusan.
Hmm.
I'm born, raised, and lived my whole life predominantly here in Syracuse. I I went to Croton Elementary School, and some people have wondered, Croton, what is that? But for those who've been around a while, they know it's now called Dr. King. And so they will be very familiar with that. And then a year at H.W. Smith, a couple years at St. Anthony's, a year at Central Tech, and finally graduated from Corcoran.
Mm,
A brief stint in Uncle Sam's Misguided Children, or some call it United States Marine Corps.
right.
I honorable discharge from there, and then I spent a little time as on vacation as a resident of New York State's Correctional Facility,
Mm,
and came out and went to Onondaga Community College and graduated from there. Worked there for about 12 years, and then took another hiatus while I was wandering around the streets for about 4 years aimlessly, and got clean and started working with OnPoint for College in 1999 actually in 2001 with Jenny Donahue.
hmm.
And I am now the executive director since 2016.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for sharing all of that. And that's amazing. Sounds like a really amazing journey. And I'd like to hear a little bit of details about certain portions if you don't mind sharing. Um, one of
Absolutely.
the one of the reoccurring themes that I've heard so just from you just describing it to us is education. And you said as of today you're the executive director of On Point for College, right? So I
Yes.
guess the question that I would like to ask is could you share with us a little bit about like the importance of education as a tool for your life?
Okay. So for me, you hear people say a lot of things that sound real cool. Like you hear people say, well, knowledge is power.
Hmm.
And if you ask most people, it's yeah, knowledge is power. And then I'll say something to them like, okay, close that door. And they start to get up. I say, no, don't move, just close it because you have the knowledge of how to do it, right? And they'd be like,
Hmm.
yeah, but I got to go. Yeah, applied knowledge is power.
Oh,
So you can't just simply say knowledge is power. So education is important, but just education in itself isn't necessarily the key. What are you being educated about? So we've spent many years in K through 12 going through an educational process where we had teachers and they taught us what they wanted us to know. So, for example, they said if someone asked you the question, who discovered America, you would say Christopher Columbus because that's what the teacher told you you had to put on the test. Although when he got here, some people were already here.
mm-hmm.
So you said, well, he couldn't have discovered it because folks were already here. But that's the only way I can answer that question because teachers teach you what they want you to know. And that was the difference in going to college. In college, you have professors. They profess things to be true. It's your job to go out and do the research to find out what the truth really is. And now you can present that. And now, when you're asked that question, you can write a paper and give the correct answer as to how America was um, developed and how America came to be, and not give that simple miseducated answer that you had to do from what the teacher told you.
Right.
So education really is crucial, but you have to make sure you do the correct research to get the correct answer, so that your knowledge is good, your knowledge is pure. And I think that that's important for you to get anywhere you want to get in life.
Right, right. Thank you. And I guess the next question that I would like to ask is if, say, for instance, someone is, maybe in 15, 14, they're in the high school process. Around when should they begin to like start even thinking about maybe going to college?
So really, you probably want to start thinking about what your post secondary opportunity is going to be. And I would say post secondary opportunity because although we're on point for college,
Hmm.
we really work with individuals who are looking at any aspect of work past high school. So
Okay.
if you want to be a plumber, if you want to be an electrician, if you want to be a truck driver, if you want to go to college, what thing do you want to do? And you probably want to think about that
Hmm.
throughout your life. Probably, 11, 12 years old, you want to start thinking about those things. If college is going to be the thing that you want to do, you do want to start prepping academically for those things. Do I like math? Do I like science? Do I like history? Do I like English? Do I like poetry? What is that thing that I like? And I want to start. So one of the things I would encourage people to do is read more. And
Okay.
that's the thing that we don't do enough of. So the more you read, the more you're exposed to. You expand your vocabulary, you expand your knowledge, you expand the information that you have. And now you have a variety of things that you can choose from based on all the different things that you've read and learned.
Mm.
So that reading part is so important, and that's the part that we do so little of. And
Right.
so our knowledge base is limited because we only know what we hear. We only know what someone told us. We haven't gone out and read and comprehended for ourselves. And that's the thing we need to begin to do so we can formulate ideas and opinions and positions, not based on what someone told us to do or how someone told us to feel. So that's how we get trapped into following someone else because
Right.
we don't have that self knowledge and self direction to be able to argue back a point because all we know is what somebody told us.
Right. Right. So okay. So in addition to reading, what I guess what were some tools that you might say to someone who is like maybe beginning to want to have more education or enrich their lives maybe, but like you said, maybe college isn't necessarily the direct route, if you will. Maybe they need to maybe go to, like you said, a plumbing school or something of the sort. So what would you suggest for someone that is outside of like looking within themselves? How do they begin to do some of that work, I guess, is the question that I'm asking.
Yeah. And so, and this is the part where, again, I think my community, people of color, suffer
Hmm.
is we don't reach out enough to each other to help and expose. We have, young people that live in our community that have not been off that side of their town. They've
Right.
never gone camping. They've never gone fishing. They've never gone, and they haven't worked anywhere. They haven't seen people going to work every day. They
Right.
haven't been exposed. Exposure is really important. And for those of us who have jobs and who are working, it's important that we go and find somebody, bring somebody to work with you and let them experience what you're doing.
Right.
One of the things that happened when I was a kid is we would go on field trips. And so we would go to the Nestle's chocolate factory because everybody wanted some chocolate candy bars. So you go, but you get to see what a factory is, what's happening in the factory, the different
Right.
people that are working, what kind of work they're doing. You would go to the bread company, and again, you see what people are doing. Exposure. When you say to someone, you don't want to work in a hospital, I don't want to be no doctor or no nurse.
Hmm.
There's hundreds of jobs in that hospital.
Right.
We know two or
Right.
three, maybe four
Right. Right.
out of the 100. We need exposure. So to respond to that, I would say you got to start exposing yourself. You got to go out and work. And then this is the word that really scares folk, but
Hmm.
this is what you got to do. You got to volunteer sometime.
Mm. Right.
Yeah, you got to work for free to expose yourself, not to just what you want to do, but what you don't want to do.
Do. Right. No, and
But
and thank you.
yeah,
No, and I was gonna say, I think that is a big part of what's missing, and that's something that I've learned in my travels is that our youth, our younger people in our community, black and brown, they don't really have that level of exposure that a lot of other groups are getting. Because one of the things that I found in my travels that I was surprised about was like these college visits, right? Like I was working with an organization, and for certain groups and communities, right, college visits are the norm. 5, 10, 7, 8, 10 different colleges, them and their parents would visit. So yes, exposure is essential. Okay, so along that next along the same train of thought, so once we get to the space where we're saying, okay, I'm gonna venture out, I'm gonna try to expose myself to some things. How do you, or how did you like stay encouraged throughout that process? Because I know it's not easy stepping outside of our comfort zones.
Mhm.
So how do we
And, and,
stay?
and, and so for me, I'll kind of give you a story. So when I was incarcerated, one of the things that I did is I used to read. I
Right.
would read, and there were a lot of words I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
So I would write those words down, and then I write the meaning of those words. And then as I was walking around talking to people, I would use those words to
Right.
make them part of my vocabulary. So that's how I began to expand my vocabulary. When I got out and I went to OCC, I'm still intimidated as a black man because I'm not educated like everybody else. So
Right.
at least that's what I think.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got elected as president of the Black Student Organization. It's Black History Month, and we're meeting all the people of color on the campus. Well, people in executive positions on the campus are meeting with the president in his office to decide what we're going to do for Black History Month. So now I'm in the room with all these smart people.
Right.
That's the way my mind is telling me. I've been out of prison for 1 month, and I'm
Okay.
sitting in, I'm hiding in the back because I don't
Right.
want nobody to ask me nothing because I don't know how to talk like y'all talk.
Right.
That's what's in my head. That's what I'm telling myself.
Mm-hmm.
This lady starts talking, and as she's talking, I'm listening, and she uses one of my words. I'm like, wait a minute, I know what she's talking about.
Right.
I know what she's saying.
Mm-hmm.
At that moment, I realized it wasn't that they were smarter than me. They were just using a different vocabulary and
Mm.
using words in a different way. And if all I had to do is read, comprehend, and understand, and I'm fitting right in. And from that moment going forward, I knew I belonged.
Right.
I knew I was right where I was supposed to be, and that only thing for me to do was to continue to grow my knowledge, and I really could do that by just expanding my vocabulary.
Right.
So helping yourself to be able to work in any environment. Now, on the flip side, I could be talking to some of the people. I would be talking to some of the white people in the office at OCC when I was working there, and I say something like, yeah, we was kicking it the other day, and they'd be like, you were kicking some what they didn't
Right.
know what I was talking about.
Right.
I'm like, wait a minute. So if I'm talking to my peeps, they with it at 100.
Right.
If I'm talking to them, I got to articulate it a different. So wait, I'm
Right.
bilingual and I didn't even know it.
Right. Right.
So now I had a role
Mm.
that I can go into the community and talk to folk and help them get to OCC,
Right.
and I can talk to OCC and help them understand the challenges of people getting there.
Yes.
A job was created,
Right.
and I
Just
started working for OCC doing exactly that.
exactly that. Right. Like, and now share with us some of that challenge, right? Like beginning to I would like to talk about some of the early formation of Onpoint, right? Like you talked about working out of the Southwest. Well, you didn't. I mean, I know your story, and you talked about working out of the Southwest Community Center, which is located on South Ave, in a really black and brown community, really densely populated by black and brown people. Could you share like what like getting people to believe in that? How did that, like, what did that look like?
So one of the things I think is, and it may be like a misnomer or a misunderstanding, like people think that we weren't going to school or we weren't going to college or we weren't doing those things because we didn't want to go
Right.
or the school was too far or it was too hard. People weren't going because they couldn't process the paperwork.
Mm.
Because the paperwork, you got to have a PhD to do it,
Right. Right.
right? Like I promise you right now, I would struggle to fill out a FAFSA because I have not been boots on the ground doing that work for the last 10 years.
Okay.
Now I understand I used to do it in my sleep when I
Mm-hmm.
was doing it every day.
Right.
But you
Right.
take a few years off of doing it, and it's like, wait, they want a what? A pin code? What are they talking about? So
Right.
people who don't do this on a regular, they don't know how to do it. So it's like, forget it. I ain't gonna do it. I do something else. Once we began to go in and help people with that process,
Mm.
it changed everything
Right.
because now they had a way to get through it. they didn't have to get stuck in it,
Right.
a way to get through. So offering people the support that they need, not the support that you want to give them. Like sometimes I would have a student, one of the things that we do is we help students with a housing deposit. So I'm getting ready to go to college, and one of the few things is hard. They don't let you not pay it if you're going to live on campus. Depending on what school it is, it may be $100, it may be $500 for your housing deposit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't have an extra $500 or extra $300
Right.
to give the school right now. So I guess I can't go. And that would be the thing that stops some people from going to college. So
Right.
Onpoint said, well, how much you got? So, right now I got $200.
Right.
Okay, you got 200. We give you the other 100. Now you got the 300. Now you can go.
Mm.
So what that person gonna do? They gonna go tell their boy or their girl, oh, yo, Onpoint just hooked me up. I was short $100. They gave me $100.
Right.
So that person gonna come. Hey, I'm in Onpoint. I didn't get no $100. $100 for what? Well, y'all helped him with his housing deposit.
Right.
I'm struggling with mine too. Well, how
Okay.
much you got? I mean, I only got 100, but I mean, if you give me 100, I'll work out the other 100. No, no. If you only got 100, we give you 200.
200. Right.
Hey, yeah,
Right.
I'm gonna give you what you need, not what he need or what she need. And we look at everybody as an individual. And
Mm-hmm.
when people start to understand that you're gonna do exactly what you want to, what you say you're gonna do, and that's a lot for On Point. If
Right.
we tell you a thing, we're gonna do that thing.
Right.
Because too many times our people have been told, I'll be right over there to help you out, and nobody show up.
Right. Right. Let down.
We don't never we don't do that. We don't do the letdown. If we tell you we'll do a thing, we're gonna do that thing.
Right.
And if we don't, then somebody need to tell me because I can't fix it if I don't know it's broke.
Right.
But if I told you we was gonna do a thing and we didn't do it, I need to know about it. I
About
need to
it.
be able to fix that. But
Right.
that's really an important part of what we do is informing people of what's out there, what's available to you, what you can have, what you
Right.
can get, and how we can help you to do it. Sometimes things seem insurmountable. And there are tough conversations. Like you get a student that wants to go to a college and the family, in order for them to go, they got to borrow $30,000. For
Mm.
me, that's crazy. I'm
Right.
like, no, I wouldn't do it.
Right.
Now,
Right.
if they let you do it and you're willing to do it, that's $30,000 a year for 4 years.
Mm.
You're gonna owe $120,000 in
20,000.
debt when you graduate. What kind of job you gonna get?
Right.
So we try to have that whole conversation, but there may be another way.
Right.
Maybe if you're willing, you start at a community college. And some people they lose their mind because they don't want to go to community college. But
Right.
listen, community going to a community college. I graduated from OCC, got a 2-year degree.
Mm-hmm.
I got my bachelor's from Columbia and my master's from Columbia.
Right.
I think I turned out okay.
Mm-hmm.
Going to community college didn't destroy me.
Right.
And for someone who's low income first generation, listen, if your income is low and you get full Pell, full TAP, that's full federal aid and state aid, and
Right.
then the federal will give you another thing they call SEOG. If you apply early enough, you could possibly get in the EOP program, all free money. If you get that and you live in Syracuse and you go to OCC, you are actually going to be paid about $250 a week to go to college with
Wow.
no debt, no loans.
Wow. And that is a game changer. That is a game changer, setting you up for success.
I give the students that, and then, well, I don't want to go to no OCC.
Right.
Okay, now you can go ahead. You want the college experience. You want to live on campus. Now, if you live on campus at OCC, that 250 comes away, and now you're paying because you got to take out student loans. Because what you don't understand is, for you to sit in a classroom at OCC, you pay tuition.
Right.
Tuition is around a little over $5,000.
Mm-hmm.
Your room where you're gonna sleep and board, what you're gonna eat, is about $12,000. So it costs you more to sleep and eat on the campus than it does to learn.
Right.
And
Right.
that's every SUNY school, every
Everyone.
state school, whether it's University of Buffalo or Onondaga Community College, it costs you more to eat and sleep on campus than it
And to
does
learn.
to learn in the classroom.
Yeah.
Okay,
And that's
but
a sad story.
you gotta you gotta dollarize it. If you dollarize it, then you start to think, how do I want to best invest in my education? And
Right.
if you want to reduce those costs, you got to apply for scholarships. There's
Okay.
all kind of scholarship websites out there you can do, fastweb.com, scholarship.com. You can go to collegeboard.org. There's different places. You check your police station, your fire station, your churches. All of these places have different kinds of scholarships that you can apply for. Sororities, fraternities,
Right.
NAACP. I mean, tons of them out there. You got to apply for them. You got to get your name in the hat to get the free money.
Right. Right.
It takes a little work. And what I tell a lot of students, I say, look, if you spend 20 hours doing the research to find scholarships, and you just get one scholarship for $1,000, you made $50 an hour.
Right. Yeah, when you look at it like that, break the math down.
Put the work in. Put the
Yeah.
work in. It can be
Yeah.
well worth it.
Yeah, I think it is beyond well worth it, life changing. And we got a couple minutes left, but in closing, I'd like to hear from you about like what this experience has been like to be the guy, on the ground in the beginning. Right now, you're the executive director. You've kind of went the whole length of the program. So, like, what has that been like to now be in a space 20 years down the line or so down the line? And I'm seeing guys that went through Onpoint and they're running for city council, Congress, doctors, like all like upper echelon type skill sets, and they are products of the program you've been working in. So share like what that's felt like for you to watch.
Well, for me, Chris, it's really, there have been times in my life when I was a taker.
Right,
I was just out here. What I got to get mine. What's in it for me?
right,
And I think through the grace of God and His mercy, He's helped me to see the light that in this life walk, how can we help someone else?
right,
If we help someone else along the way, we can make our community a better community,
right,
and we can make ourselves better people. So, me trying to do everything I can to help the next man, to help the next lady get to where they want to be, get to what they can be, all they can be,
right.
helps me to be a better person myself.
Mm,
And so that's the thing that I strive to do. And when I see someone, as you described, that's running for an office or owning a business or
right,
doing something like that, I'm just so appreciative that I was able to participate in any part of helping them to get there. It's just like, these are all my children,
yeah,
and they're all grown up and they're out there changing the world.
yeah.
They're firefighters, they're entrepreneurs. They doing the thing.
They
They
doing
doing.
it. Yeah, well, that's pretty much all the time we got today, Mr. Rouser. And I can't tell you, and I just want to say thank you. I'm appreciative of you, and I hope that our community is as appreciative of members like you, because you guys give so much and inspire so much. So again, this is the executive director from On Point for College, Mr. Sam Rouser. In closing, anything else you want to say or give a shout out?
Well, I just like to say, as I say to everybody else, at the end of the day, always keep it on
On
point.
Point.
It's
Uh,
what we do.
All right. Thank you. And again, we appreciate all of your service. And this has been a Leap Lifestyle Podcast. I'm your host, Christopher White, and we will catch you on the flip side. Peace.
Peace out.